Welcome to Never Rewrite. I'm Isaac Askew.
And I'm Jeffrey Sherman, and today we're going to discuss recovering value from failed projects. And I'm going to say failed in a larger category of it didn't do what we wanted to. In the case that we're going to discuss today, Isaac has been
Mm-hmm.
working on a project, they've gotten close to launch, and then the lawyer said there's reasons that we didn't know about or think about, and we probably can't launch this thing. And so Isaac, set it up for me. How far along in the project did you go?
Pretty far along. Like the idea, uh, can't maybe canceled a week before release.
Hmm.
So that's how far.
But taking a step back from the pre-show or from
Mm-hmm.
what we were talking before, you mentioned that the project, that the product that you're thinking about that was being built, you A/B tested it. You saw that there was interest. You were
Yeah.
building sort of an MVP of this thing. So it's not like you rushed headlong into it, and in this case, you discovered that there was no interest. You've actually, at this point, you are building a product that you think your customers would like,
Mm-hmm.
but it turns out that there's privacy laws and you probably can't actually do the thing.
Probably can't.
Right. And so the
Yeah.
lawyers
So
have waved you off.
right. So the kind of the flow was let's
Mm-hmm.
A/B test and see if users want this product.
Yes.
And so we would essentially put it out there. Hey, do you want this thing? And if people said yes, we're like, well, it's not quite ready yet, but we'll put you down and you'll be in touch. And so that was our way to kind of gauge interest before actually spending any time building
Did
it.
you actually record those people, and were you planning to get in touch with them?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Just curious,
Um,
because I know a lot of times people do that and they don't actually record. And
got
then,
it.
like,
Well, in this case,
yeah.
we know who's marked yes to this thing.
So you had a
Um,
reasonable theory about a product,
mhm.
and you had reasonable evidence that the product would do okay. You were gathering some names, some potential customers. You were building the
Yeah.
thing.
And the main issue, like we had already built another product in a similar way that offered different services.
Mm-hmm.
And the key difference was this one was related to medical.
Mm.
Our other service was not medical related. Um, so I guess there were some concerns to begin with, like, oh, well, maybe it'll run afoul of this law. Let's give it to the lawyers, but let's not let that conversation or that wait time coming back from the lawyers stop us because
Right.
we're fairly confident and we've got some interest. So, and we're going to move fast. That's one of the kind of the nice things about this is this project. Once we realized, oh, people might like this,
Mm-hmm.
we probably spent less than 2 months building it. It was very fast to implement.
Okay.
Um, so that's kind of one thing, I guess, for later when we're talking about like maybe lost time or recovery,
Yeah.
things to think about. The fact that we were able to build it very quickly is a good thing. That we didn't spend half a year to a year on it, I guess.
Right. And that could be could have been a trap since you already knew there was interest and you had a pretty good idea that it would sell if you built it.
Mm-hmm.
You could have had the temptation to come to the temptation of overbuilding in order to do
Right.
this. But in this case, you asked the lawyers a question because it's medical and medical has lots of regulations for good reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And while you're waiting for the lawyers to get back to you, you proceeded anyway.
Yeah.
And 2 months is actually a pretty reasonable amount of time for lawyers to get back to you. And so now you've built this thing, and the lawyers say, we don't think it's going to be okay with the privacy laws. Don't do
Yeah.
it. And you're not going to do it. Right? This isn't a case
Correct.
of, like,
Well,
we're just going to do it anyway.
we found out the way in which we were essentially doing referrals and kickbacks for the data and the people, the referrals that were given to us, would be running afoul of laws if we did launch this program in that way. So there was like more brainstorming sessions with the lawyers afterwards to go, okay, well, can we advertise this instead, or can we pay like a flat fee for something instead of having like this kickback thing instead of a kickback? Like what kind of ways can we shift this such that it is actually legal?
Mm-hmm.
And then there was another scare of like, well, even if it's technically legal, what if it looks illegal? And then people like, complain. So
Yeah.
that could be just as bad with the egg on her face. So in the end, it was like, well, dang. I mean, it hasn't been officially killed yet. We're still finding ways to
Sure. Yeah.
save value from it. But yeah, it's one of those things where like, oh dang, we moved very fast because we wanted under the best circumstance, this was totally fine, and then we'd be ready for launch. But it turns out, some legal stuff is going to prevent it. So let's
So let's talk
probably look
about.
towards killing it. Yeah, go ahead.
But let's talk about recovering. So this is, you said it was the second, like add-in product, or
Yeah.
so you've gone from zero. You were having zero products, then you were offering one product. Now you're going to offer two products, and then you're going to stick with the one. But you've done this work now to offer two, and so the rule of three may be applied. Did the team go okay? The first time you just hard code it. The second time you start generalizing it, so that
Right.
when the third opportunity comes along, are you going to be in a good position where you don't even need to spend 2 months? You could spend a week or
That's a
month.
good call out. That's basically when I was thinking about like, oh well, if this thing gets killed, what some of the stuff we can save from it. Some of the work that we had done for the first product was very rushed because it was an MVP. It was very rushed, and there were some hard coded things that was not good coding practices. And so when the second product came along, we did a fair amount of work to generalize that flow. And essentially, like if you could imagine if you're at the end of a payment flow and then you get upsold a thing that we think you'll like. In a perfect world, we can plug and play whatever we want on that last thing that we think is going to sell the best, depending on what we know about you. And so we're like, okay, let's just go ahead and start generalizing how to plug and play that last little piece there. So there's probably 20% of the work that was done to optimize that code where we're not hard coding product names or services, or just go ahead, let's make it to where we can easily swap out and have it all use very similar code. And then we just we're saving like API. Each API has like its own kind of ID. So we're like, okay, this is this type of subscription. The ID of that points to that particular person for this product is this ID, and you can kind of swap it out and swap APIs that you're reaching out to as well for each product. So yeah, we did go ahead and start generalizing.
Went from almost, you had this thing hard coded into the flow. That was the flow, and that's how it worked. To there was now a module at the end of the flow.
Right.
That could be one of many things.
Yeah, and it's still not perfectly modularized. This was only the second product, so there was some stuff that were like, yeah, let's just go ahead and generalize this one. And there were other things like, let's just duplicate that. Like, for example, we had like branded emails for resetting a password.
Okay.
We could just use two different templates, or we could just have one template and pass in the name of the product, then swap out the logo depending on the name that you pass to the template, instead of just duplicating different templates and hard coding the brand. Simple things like that add up over time to where you're like, all right, okay, we have a new product, so let's duplicate and make another password reset email. Well, let's just make the password reset email more dynamic. Yeah. So a bunch of little things like that added up, but we went through them and okay, well, now we can see how this is becoming more and more generalized, and some of this code is becoming duplicative, and let's just go ahead and clean it up so it'll work with whatever product we have in the future.
That makes sense. And did the team learn anything about the experience? Like,
they learned nothing.
That's a shame. I learned nothing. I wasn't part of the team, so I learned nothing.
Well, yeah, it is one of those tricky things where it's like, there was, the good thing again is maybe 20% of it was work that was all generalization work that we're not going to lose. But it's kind of hard to find a good lesson in this, because it seems like we still somewhat did it the right way. We still, if you're looking to move very fast and you're just hedging your bets one way or the other, like, oh, I'm assuming they come through, then you're already ready for market. Let's go as soon as you get the thumbs up from the lawyers. And if you don't spend as much time on it, even if they come back with a no, not bad. You've got some kind of code you can salvage. um, next time you release a product that might be a little less legally an issue, you're already kind of prepped for it,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And it's a bummer that we lost time, but we didn't lose a terrible amount of time for what we did. So the lesson's probably just more like let's have a faster loop with lawyers if we can, like before we A/B
Right.
test. you
Yeah, you
know, the
probably
A/B
should have
test.
asked the
Yeah,
lawyers before running the A/B test
yeah,
about.
and I think there was some issues, or we when we talked to the partners' lawyers about what was shareable, they were more optimistic. We should have gone further in. And
Mm,
this is me talking through my boss, so I don't know all the actual nitty gritties between what the lawyers did say or how early they were involved in the process. Maybe they were involved early and it just took a long time. But if that feedback loop could somehow be a little closer to where we could abandon slightly earlier, that would be a good lesson. But I'm still pretty happy with how far we got, how much we learned, and how fast the team was able to pivot and like let's go ahead and get this thing ready,
right.
and then abandon and learn from it. So
I mean, honestly, 2 months from idea to scrapping the project is pretty quick.
yeah,
Like, hey, we had this idea for a product. We, we're going through the steps, and 2 months later, we said, "Oh, this isn't going to work," and we killed it. Because I could imagine,
yeah,
I've seen places where it's like, "Oh, well, we've done all the work," and then somebody says, "Well, we better make sure this is all okay with the
yep,
lawyers," and the lawyers have problems with what you're doing,
yep.
and
That's the
then
easy way to get shut down and have
right,
layoffs because you spend so much time. Yeah, I've got another story for some other time in the future when I can talk about it, where people sink a lot of money into something with this. What the other story wasn't necessarily lawyer related; it was just more of interest related.
mm-hmm.
We thought we had more interest than we did, and after spending a year and a half in hiring for something we thought was going to be successful, oof, um, didn't quite make the mark. So it's good to fail early. is the lesson, I guess.
Right. And in this case, you also are failing completely, which by that I mean if you'd gone because the problem is the lawyers,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to go forward unless you find a way. But like the
Right.
lawyers have said no, and so another trap is you launch something and you say, hey, we need to sell 100 of these a day or 100 of these a week to break even, and we think we're going to sell 1,000 and the break even's 100, and then you start selling 50,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh well,
Mm-hmm.
it's selling, so that's good, but we're not selling enough to make it worthwhile. Do we cut our losses or do we keep going on it? And
Yeah.
that can create a whole new cycle of getting benchmarks and getting metrics, and is it telling us what the story, or are we deceiving ourselves? And this whole
Right.
limping along for a long time before pulling the plug can be much worse.
Yeah, I imagine too, because like if you see it, some money coming in, you're like, well, it's not unsuccessful, and so you
Yeah,
kind of get attached to, okay, what can we do to make it stickier? And you keep trying and trying and trying, and then
right.
after all your optimization, you're still getting 75% of what you thought, and you're still bleeding. And you're like, and you had money on top of that you could have been spending. I think that was the main thing my boss was saying is like it's a bummer that we the main thing is we could have been spending this time building something else.
Right, there's an opportunity cost.
Right. Yeah. But so that's yeah, that's the main issue I think. Yeah. So is it so that whole time at least we didn't go like, no, people do want this product. We have to find a way legally to make it work and keep trying to make it work. Um, spending more and more time bleeding engineering money, forcing something to work that's hard. We also take lessons from just like people were interested in the product. Is there a way we can still find that segment of people who are interested in this type of product and build something slightly different or partner with a company in a way that is legal? And there's still some bits of data. Plus we also, if the laws are
Change.
shifting,
Right.
then interesting. Okay, now this would be more kosher in this flow. You know, so still some lessons that we can take from it and not just lose everything.
Right, and that's the right attitude. It's all cut your losses early, take what you can, salvage what you can,
Mm-hmm.
and Yeah, I mean, I think it's great
Yeah,
iteration.
I think the energy on the team and the optimism and attitude on having to pivot is good. I think we have a pretty tight group of people here that can take that and go, all right, bummer, that sucks. On to the next one, and
On to
not
the
get
next one.
emotionally attached. Yeah,
Right. The idea is sound. It doesn't work for reasons external to the code.
yeah.
Move along. Let's find another one. As you said, find another similar product. Since it's an upsell, it's
Maybe one not related to medical stuff.
yeah. Don't
Too hairy.
don't do medical stuff and don't involve children. Are the two really privacy related things
Gotcha.
where you're just digging yourself into a ton of legal questions. Awesome.
All right.
Thank you all for listening. I'm Jeffrey Sherman.
And I'm Isaac Askew, and this is Never Rewrite.